Tuesday the 10th of March 2026. Item 1, to receive apologies for absence.
That's Councillor Sally Graham.
That's it, thank you. Item 2, note any declarations of members' interests. Any? No.
You can declare them as you go along if you need.
Item 3, to confirm and sign the minutes of the community committee held on the 10th of January. So that's on page 3 and 4. Is there any items, any corrections that need to be raised? Nope, not seeing anything. So could I have a proposer for the minutes? Who was there? Right. Councillor Staines Francis. A seconder. Councillor Edwards. All those in favour?
Can you just sign those?
Okay. Any abstentions? Yeah.
Okay. There and then on the other side.
Can I just quick query something?
Yeah.
Yes. It says I wasn't in attendance, but I have to pay the non-pecuniary interest. I can't remember.
So where on the?
Oh yeah, she's in attendance. She's missing from the attendance list.
Oh, so sorry. I'll get you. Did then?
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben.
My pleasure.
How could we forget you?
Quite honestly.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So item 4, public talk. Quiet, please, members. Item 4, public participation. Have we received? We don't have any members of the public here. Have we received any questions? All right. So we'll move on to item 5. To receive the year-to-date financial position for the Communities Committee, can I ask Jackie to bring it up to date?
Yeah, it's exactly as I would expect it to be. There are a few payments yet to be added. That's an accounting issue rather than an issue, but it's an accounting way, right, rather than anything that we've done. Liz and I have spent some time moving around some nominal figures, but yes, I'm perfectly happy that this represents the budget as it should be.
Okay. Any questions, members? This item is just for noting, so we're happy to note and move on. Thank you very much. So, right, item 6, to consider matters related to grant applications received from. Go over to Katie.
Just before Katie starts, just to make members aware, we're currently at £25,097 spend on the grant scheme. The applications tonight come to 6,210. So if members were minded to approve them all, that would take us to 31,307, which is over the budget, but we do have some in wellbeing if you decide you want to fund everything. Okay. Over to Katie.
Thank you. As with the last meeting, a small panel met to discuss and review each of the first being the return of the Group Photographic Society. If members recall, the committee funded 100% of the cost for the laptop. They requested 680, but they were awarded 850, and we sought more information on the projector itself. I attached their responses to the queries that we raised, which was predominantly whether they are attending events at venues that have already got screens or TVs that they could use. And as you can see, they've said the main reason is to have it calibrated so it projects the image showing true colour representation, and that they are meeting. They invite non-members for a couple of sessions, so it does get out to several different arenas. Based on the fact that they have already had 850, we've recalculated their request, and the maximum you could award towards this, if you're able to do so, is 1210. So it's just whether members are minded to come towards it.
Any questions? Councillor Rhodes.
As far as I'm concerned, we've already dealt with this grant.
But
as far as I'm concerned, we've already dealt with the grant. We already told them what we were willing to pay for. And we made it perfectly clear. I think that we gave them extra to the laptop, and I think really, if they want this extra equipment, then they should go and look for other organisations which might subsidise them to buy it.
I think the caveat to the last was that we would go back and seek more clarification. Yeah, so we did, as part of that, at the last meeting, did say we would go back and ask them questions and bring the balance here to them. But yeah. Anybody else got any comments? Martin.
I'm just looking on page 13. There's two different projectors there. One's considerably more money, £250 or £150 extra at least. I was just wondering, have they not decided on which one they want? Or is that depending on this evening?
Which it doesn't really matter whichever one we want. We can't fund either fully. We've only got 1,200 and
So they're going for the first one, Martin, 172560. That's the model they're asking us to fund. But because we overfunded on the laptop, we've reduced it slightly to make sure that we've got the 20% back.
okay. So are we? I'm happy to propose that we fund the balance of 1210. Is it 50 or 1250?
1210.
1210. To fund the photographic society. Councillor Rhodes.
I'm not happy at all. I'm not happy.
Well, putting it to the vote, so the
Well, can I propose then that we fund half? We fund half of it, because I really am, really seriously, think this is not appropriate. But I will not go any further in public. So I suggest that we fund half of it.
So we have a secondary recommendation to fund
605.
605 up. So, do we have a seconder? Sorry.
I'm quite aware that you know we're going into town of culture, and I think this may be a well worth project that is part of our community plan, because they are going to put on an exhibition within the platform, and support.
What exhibition?
I think Councillor Coyley is updating us on the Town of Culture plans, and the Photography Society are part of it, and part of that will be putting on an exhibition, and this will be vital to that exhibition. Is that?
Yes.
But that's not on our papers.
No, but that's come from the members' observations and knowledge from what's happening with the cultural thing.
But we're reading all the papers. I thought.
I mean, we've just funded from another source, one for Queen's Park, haven't we?
We're reading something wrong here. How does this project include town council's priorities and increase community plan in less than 200 words?
Oh yeah, we
You
are.
see the guidance of document. Crew Photography Society are contributing to Crew's community plan by working with Crew Creates, of which are the platform and got the big order through Culture of Crew, and we'll be running an exhibition.
Okay. So we have a recommendation. Sorry, Councillor Edwards.
I was just asking, we tend to fund partly, don't we? And we look for other sources of funding. Is there any other sources of funding for this item?
Sorry, 20%.
Yeah, they've got their own ones.
£515.
So we have a recommendation, Councillor Rhodes, to fund £605. Do I have a seconder for that?
Yeah. Sorry, against what was the other amount?
1210.
1210. So recommendation of 605. Then I put to the vote. All those in favour? I'm abstaining. Right, okay, so
for the purpose of the minutes, £605 is awarded to Crew Photographic
Society towards their
projector.
projector. So agenda item 6.2.
See, during the review papers for this application, we did seek some clarification on there was a confusion of whether who was volunteering, who was being paid, and whether there were actually any events in place. Unfortunately, there aren't any scheduled events. They're primarily at the mini group in Nantwich. They're looking to start something with but there are no dates. So the events that they're actually seeking support with don't currently exist.
So they're too soon, aren't they?
They're too soon. That was generally the thought of the panel is without concrete planning. There can't be, accurate quotes of what we're contributing towards at this time, though it was supported and encouraged, whilst the group is demonstrating the impact it may be another application for a little later in the committee cycle.
Okay, so
Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, I think that's, if there's no urgency, if they don't have an upcoming date for this event, I think, yeah, maybe a little more information would be good.
okay, so Councillor Faisy.
Irene.
Just have they had any funding from us before this?
No.
So and we don't know anything.
No.
We've not been invited to any events.
Some of us are aware of the organisation, and they primarily deliver in Sandbach and Nantwich and Rembury. So not in Crewe. They want to expand it, but I think for us to fund an exhibition materials which we're not sure of that they're actually going to be delivered into Crewe, I think that was the thoughts that we with myself and Sally had, was that brilliant organisation, admire everything that they do, but at this moment in time this is funds from Crewe residents and we can't guarantee that it's actually going to be delivered in Crewe.
Just so that this group is, if you are minded to decline it, just so that this group can apply again, can I ask you to decline it rather than defer it? Otherwise, they won't be able to apply again for this project.
Yeah, we decline it on the basis that when they come back with a timetable of exhibitions in Crewe and networking events, then we can, So that,
So are we going to vote on that?
So, have we got a proposer? Seconded?
Yeah.
Seconded.
Okay.
All those in favour?
Thank you.
Thank you. So,
The last one, Chair, is the question. Anyways, we attached our notes panel to this, and really it's such a comprehensive application. We didn't really have any queries to that. It was seen as a very positive project in the community. Well, if you have any queries,
They've also managed to secure the match funding.
they have,
so-
and there's some incredible feedback.
Oh, we funded them before as well a few years back.
They've just had a grant, you'll see in there, a grant from Cheshire Community Foundation in 2,500. It's held as match funding, and that has been received, showing their access. Thanks.
any questions from members? Any comments? Councillor Rose?
Got Councillor Weigel first. I've already spoken.
I just think it's a really good example of empowering residents rather than doing stuff for them and moving from that, giving them that voice and power to do stuff. So more of this, please.
Councillor Rose?
Just think that are they getting funding from Cheshire East as well? Because a lot of these things are doing actually seem to be some of the Cheshire East actual some of the things about engage with residents and advice about recycling and how to manage the bins. That actually seems to be the job of treasuries.
So they don't actually break down. Do
Well,
they?
they say
Two,
in sort of
two
big
and a half,
word that Cheshires aren't able to support them as they have before, which is why the weeds changed in so significantly all this time. But they haven't mentioned them in terms of recycling officers maybe being able to come along.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no objection to the grant, but I mean, going forward, how are they going to be self-sustaining? Because if treasuries isn't willing to support them, and they won't get a grant from us next year, to me it's a big question. But yeah, I just think that it's just Cheshire, isn't it?
So,
which hat are we?
yeah, put the other hat on.
But I mean, I don't have anything to do, not associated with the group. So, although I live in the area and I know they're trying to do a good job, they're doing a good job. But this is basically Cheshire's responsibility that's been taken over by residents, and we're being asked to support. And my hat's off to the residents who are doing this, but it really is Cheshire's job. No objection to the grant. I just think it needs saying publicly that this is Cheshire's job and currently they're failing to do it.
So what we thinking?
Okay, so the proposal is to approve a grant of 2,500 for this for the alleyway project. Do I have a proposer seconded? Councillor Mortimer. Sorry.
I think I agree with Councillor Rhodes. I think it's a shame that they might not be sustainable in the future. I mean, they have received funding from a local supplier, so that shows some support from ourselves, of course. But yeah, as long as we can help them now, I think why not?
I think there is, through the Public Services Committee, there is a Cleaner Crew project, which is a joint project with Cheshire East and Councillor. I think these comments from this committee about this need to be fed through to that project, so we can have those discussions with Cheshire East about the priorities which lie within the alleyways, and that we are mindful that we're funding this year, but it does need to be set as a priority as part of the Cleaner Crew project. Are you happy with Councillor Hogben?
It does say the alleyways are unadopted, so that's not council responsibility.
It isn't, no. You're quite right. Yeah, if they're unadopted alleyways, then there isn't an onus on Cheshire East Councillor Rhodes.
But you and I know that the alleys Crew South are adopted.
Yeah.
So unadopted alleyways isn't accurate because I can count things of one hand the unadopted alleyways in Crew South.
So
I doubt there's even that many.
They've all been watched with them. I don't think it's either.
Pardon?
They've put it down, but
No, if you were talking about Crew East, I'd say yes. We're not Crew South. Anyway, we're getting into down to some.
Yeah. So
No.
proposal is to grant the full amount requested of 2,500.
yeah.
Do I have a proposal? Councillor Hogben. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Mortimer.
Yeah.
All those in favour?
So for the purposes of the minutes, that is approved, £2,500 to Friendly Crew South 1 alleyway.
Thank you, Katie.
Make sure it's people put it on here. It's
Right, agenda item 7. So, to consider a refresh of the grants guidance scheme for grants up to 2,500 and introduction of a smaller grant scheme up to £500.
So Dawn, so Councillor Graham, Councillor Clark, and myself and Katie all met to go through the grant scheme. The normal £2,500 one, there's not a huge amount of difference, other than that we added must be able to demonstrate collaboration, which we feel feel quite strongly, don't we, that groups are coming along and asking for funding and then not collaborating with the existing groups.
Yeah.
So we added that, so that is now a condition of the funding, and we just tweaked the wording just a little bit, just to make it a little bit more user friendly, idiot proof for me and Katie, user friendly for the person that's applying. And then one of the things the strategy has identified is seed funding. So we looked at the potential and the possibility of looking at a smaller grant scheme up to £500, which would sit outside of committee and be delegated to officer and chair, but it would be reported on at committee. So it would mean that people could apply for a grant, and within 28 days, it'd be a lot quicker than that, but I've put 28 days just in case someone was on holiday, would be able to come to us, an existing group, and say, I really need some help with, say, some marketing leaflets. I need 250 quid. Can we, rather than have to go through the whole grant scheme? And also in terms of seed funding, which was something that Dawn, you had a few things to say on. So I put a document together. Katie and I looked at it. We sent it over to Sally and Dawn for approval and for any kind of questions. New groups seeking seed funding where local need and well-founded proposals are demonstrated. This is only applicable to this small grant application. So I guess it's
I think the way that we looked at it was that we have a number of groups who come to us who can't really demonstrate any sort of evidence that they've been active in the community, that it's come from a initial idea, they want to get going and they need some support. So we would look at the idea and say, yes, it meets our community strategy or our corporate plan, and and as long as the group is constituted, sometimes they can't demonstrate that they've had any fundraising and done anything because they haven't actually done anything yet. They need some help in actually getting, as we say, with marketing, getting leaflets out there to actually get a bit of impetus behind them. So and that's where groups, so all those sort of official lines won't be they'll have to have proper bank accounts and everything in place. It won't be so those verifications will be done, but it's some of those things where, and by doing this doesn't preclude them from, once they've got an idea or something, going then to waiting 24 months before they can apply for the big grant of £2,500. So it was just
to be clear as well, so the £30,000 is the grant allocation for the entire year. This would, even though it was delegated to officer and chair, it would obviously come out of that pot.
Yeah.
And you'd be updated at every meeting retrospectively, really, because I'd be saying, we funded 300 quid here, but it will be done with the officer, either Liz or myself, and the chair, Dawn.
Councillor Edwards.
Just reading the document, it says Crewe citizens requesting grant aid for a project, but then it says grant payments cannot be paid to individuals. So I'm just a little confused there.
Yeah, sure. Fair enough. The word citizens needs to come out.
It's got to be still a constituted community,
constituted
group.
Thank you. I'll get that removed.
And I was just wondering about the workload. Are you suspecting or expecting a lot of applications?
No, I mean, it's really funny when so if I go back a couple of years, when I used to present grants to this committee, there'd be 8, 9, 10 applicants, and there's just not that anymore. It isn't that we don't advertise them. This will just sit on our website with others, and if somebody, so I meet groups all the time, I refer them to the CVS, they help them get constituted. It would just be something that we'd have up our sleeve, really, to be able to help them, so that they didn't have to wait 2-3 months to go through committee, but an absolute maximum of £500 and always delegated to officer and chair.
And we've done some research of other towns and parish councils who offer similar schemes, and and how they sort of do seem to be welcomed by groups within those towns and parishes.
Absolutely.
So what is the pot for this?
30,000 is the grant.
It's not. It's the total pot. That's the whole grant scheme. So we're not saying that we would say 5,000 of it will be for the sports grant scheme. We're not saying that because we've waited to see what the flow would be, the fee free
I think
would
at
be.
any point though, it could be that we say, you know, let's just freeze that for a while and focus
Yeah.
on the bigger ones.
Let me just get this right. We put 30,000 aside
Yeah,
for the grant scheme of 500,000.
no, for the whole, everyone.
whole-
Yeah, that's
So we
that's all of
haven't got-
our community grant pot is.
So we haven't got a total figure for the amount of applicants who would apply for the £500.
That exactly no,
No.
but it would be up to us, of course, to say, you know, if it was a big influx of it, then it would be up to us to say this is working or this is not working. It's a bit of a trial, but we have checked with other councils and they say it works really, really well. And we wouldn't just be giving it to groups that we don't know. It's just giving me a little bit of ammunition and help. I can offer the help as and when I meet the groups that are just starting out. Really.
I'm good with the principle.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely
So it
works.
sits
But it
within the
doesn't work.
30,000, not additional.
But does that not? Will that not make us short on the major?
I don't think it will. No, and we monitor it as we go along. And at the start of this, I told you how much we'd spent and how much was left. And I don't think that it will, but if it does, we can always. It's always up to members to decide. Actually, we think that's right, and we want to spend a little bit more, and I can move it over from wellbeing. But we're going to have an underspend this year of grants by a couple of £1,000, 3 maybe. So no, I don't think it.
So that
will
would have been
spend
6
more.
who could have applied.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So you don't have that, was that possibility?
I think with anything there's a possibility. So we could get mid-year and we could say, well, actually, we've just funded loads of groups and we're at 27,000, and what are we going to do for the rest of the year? You know, so I think we're always mindful of that, aren't we?
Yeah. So because at any time, you know, we don't
We
have
don't limit it, do we?
No.
No.
So we could, you know, get to sort of 27,000 and say, right, we're not going to advertise the second half year applications. We'll just
Yeah.
wait and see, you know.
I've done it before. I've said to comms, don't advertise it. We're really close to the top because we're trying to manage expectation. But we've never really gone massively.
No,
over,
and
have
we have reserves in
Yeah,
other areas
yeah,
or
yeah.
environments that we can do. So if the grants, if our grant pot is, you know, isn't enough, then we can look to how we. Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just
Councillor
want to
Wye.
say, just want to say, come back on that a little bit, because it makes it look a lot more attractive with £500, doesn't it? That's the only thing we're kind of sort of worried about.
Yeah.
You might have an increase.
It's feeding ideas and innovation, isn't it? That's where we felt that sometimes that Jackie has these conversations with community groups because they knock on the door and she can't do anything to help them, but she knows it's a good idea and there's nowhere to actually but they just need a little bit of a helping hand
This
to
would
get this
just be my decision.
No.
It would be tied
Yeah.
in with Dawn as chair as well.
Yeah. With the chair of the communities committee, whoever that might be. Martin and then Ben.
Yeah, just doing some maths in my head. So 30,000 for the full 2,500 grant is 12 applications per year.
Yeah.
Obviously, one of those big grants is 5 of these small grants. So I think it's a great idea, but obviously maybe some monitoring.
Yeah, if you looked
throughout
at
the year.
if you look at the grants that we've issued, there's very rarely that we've actually issued 2,500.
It's often 1,200, 800.
800,
Yeah.
So you know it does vary.
Yeah.
So we don't, you know, we're not just saying, well, we've had 10, 12 grants this year.
We'll
So,
suck it and see, and it'll either
Yeah.
work or it doesn't, and
Yeah.
I'll obviously report back to committee.
So
Depend on.
Ben.
It'd be nice so every committee or even monthly give us just a little bar chart with how much money we're taking out of the small pots
Yeah.
and how much money, so we
I
can
could easily
see.
report on that, and
Yeah.
we can look at
Yeah.
the variances and no
Yeah.
problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are we happy? Considering the approval for this?
Yeah, we do need approval for both. It's 2 separate approvals.
Right.
This, these.
Okay. So are we? Do I
This
have a
This will
proposal?
come in from the 1st of April, so
Yeah.
from the next financial
So
year.
do I have a proposer for the grant schemes of up to 2,500 as amended? Ben, seconded.
Approved.
So all those in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. And then we need for the guidance and to adopt the 500 maximum small grant scheme as laid out in the guidance notes. Do I have a proposal for that one? Councillor Y, seconded. Councillor Mortimer. All those in favour?
Great.
Again, that's unanimous. Thank you, members.
Thank you.
So, item 8, is that an update on projects that we have?
So one of the things that we always do is obviously seek evaluation from people. This is a standard evaluation end of grant report that gets sent out, and we ask them direct questions and they tell us what they've done with the money that we've awarded them. And it helps us in terms of understanding where it's gone, and also when they come back to us, we can look at whether it's worked or whether it hasn't. So projects finish at different times, so they we just keep on at them and they keep giving us. So I will always drop the evaluation in as and when it comes back and as and when the project's finish. So it just gives you a bit of an idea of stuff that has been funded this year, and some of them go to great trouble and give us lots of lovely photos, as page 74, 75.
So, any questions from any members regarding any of these evaluations?
Just a moment.
Any questions? No. Sure.
Well, yeah, is it cool? Has the first one, the joint recruitment order, have they, do you know if they managed to actually open it out? So there was an issue about insurance or something, opening it up to local groups. I'm very keen that other local groups get to use that pitch. Is that within our remit?
So, London and Maple Crew FC fully equipped the new 3G pitch and community hub, ensuring the facility could open and operate safely and effectively for community use. So that would indicate
I
that
could say I saw it advertised that they were, you know, you could book.
Yeah, it's me.
Community groups could book. No, oh, it was you, was it?
Yeah, but when
So
I
it's falsehood.
yeah, I think I was.
So it says approximately 1,000 people have directly benefited during the initial period of operation. So I would say that it is running and open from what they're reporting.
Oh yeah, it's being used.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen it.
Yeah,
You can't see it being used because put all these screens around it.
yeah, and there's a glitch about actually applying. And it may have changed since then, but I'll dig it out myself.
Yeah. So next item is professional 9.
Item 9, to provide an update to members of the progress of the business delivery plan.
Okay, so this is where I regularly update members to tell you what I've been up to and what has been delivered, and also with evaluation. This is page 76. So obviously I've gone through, we've delivered a lot of the stuff, a lot of the evaluation you have already had. If you could take note of the St Andrew's St Peter's Church evaluation on page 77, I'd appreciate it, because when we get to the next agenda item, they are asking for some funding in this next financial year that I'm going to be asking you to look at. Same with a lot of the others. It is really just reporting. If you have a look at the Street Sports Impact Report, they're about to go into year 3, so this sums up year 2. That's been a hugely successful programme with many people benefiting, as you all know. As we get to the next agenda item, I'll talk to you about some requests that we've had from them for 2027, not necessarily for consideration, just to make you aware. So their evaluation is nice there. The same with the supported adults. They've requested some funding to carry on their project in the next agenda item. So I'm just asking you to look at that now. I had a meeting today with the RBL regarding veterans support. That's all fine, that's all good. I also wanted to make members aware that under delegated authority, this is on page 86, to officer and chair, there was a little bit of money left in veterans support, and the Tommies and the Women at War statues were all on offer. If you bought them as a pair, they were considerably reduced. So instead of just having one Tommy now, we have 3 Tommies and 2 Women at War. So they're all in there. So don't go in there, as you literally will die of fright. So that was done under delegated authority to take advantage. It saved about 150 quid to take advantage of that. So just to make you aware of that. You've already had a lot of this evaluation already. Community awards and networking events. So this sits within the events committee in terms of funding, but of course, because it's community, we all get involved. Our new events officer Elaine did an absolutely sterling job of delivering the awards, supported by Katie, and of course I was part of it all as well. So I've just done a list of who got awards. The nicest part of it was at the end, we turned the camera on to Peter Robinson and surprised him. We got our comms officer down, and they were announcing it, weren't they? And Peter's there ready to get his next shot, and then he got caught forward. And he was
it was when the pet, cause she was giving out a sort of citation about him and everything else, and then it was just the penny drop that talking about me. So it was his face that it was.
Yeah.
It was stunning.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Oh, for years. And so I've actually, Liz and I have got them coming in April because we're going to talk about giving like an annual donation to the club because they come for free. They used to do 1 or 2 events for us and now they do everything, constantly asking him to do stuff. So he's going to sit down with us and bring his treasure up and we're going to talk about making an annual donation.
And it's just the same group we had the issue with.
So that's all on there. What else have I got? Oh, I just wanted to update you on Katie is carrying out a defib audit. So I've put some funding in for next year because all the pads and batteries. Are you off, Jill? So what time are we at? 6:33. Thanks, Jill. Katie's doing a defib audit just so that we can make sure, because the defibs are gifted to the hosts. However, we look after them and pay for them, and the batteries only last a certain amount of time, as do the pads. And if they get used, the pads are like 200 quid. So in my next agenda item, you'll see that I've put an amount in for defib because it's going to happen this year. So it's not going to be quite as much as I'm asking for. Because I always like to have a contingency, and if one got used or vandalised, it's all on us. So the community hosts them. We fund. We have
actually, there was a big thing on the TV last week about the defibs in areas where they weren't being monitored. That that there isn't anybody actually going out and checking them. That they've been put in place, and nobody's actually going weekly to see if the light's still flashing. The battery is.
So hosts check them weekly, which is what I've asked Katie to go out and just make absolutely sure that's happening. And then our rangers check them monthly. Any issues get reported back, and then I order stuff, and the rangers put it all out.
Yeah, because somebody's
just curious to know how many there are in town.
9. So we've got 9 of ours. But if you go onto our website, not only do we list ours, but we list all of them. So if I spot a new defib because I'm on the circuit, then we add it on. And sometimes it might be a little bit behind.
Yeah, because like the Lifestyle Centre hosts their own.
NatWest have one. And
I'm just thinking I was a member of another parish council, and there was a particular councillor who was responsible, but obviously much smaller.
No, we do check them regularly, and Katie is going to be looking after them, and she's out there doing audits of them all and just making sure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing, because I can't imagine anything worse than somebody going there and we're thinking that they're doing. So what we're doing is making absolutely sure, refreshing the paperwork and making sure that our defibs are placed with people that are asking us to do. We have an agreement, memorandum of whatever it's called. We have an agreement, but as you know, a lot of them keep a log. The Wishing will keep actual logs of the ones that they do,
and they've got bleed kits in them as well. So we'll be checking that they're still within date.
The one in Sherborne.
So Sherborne is one of the ones I've asked Katie to look at, because the Rangers are looking after it at the moment, but they check that more regularly because, of course, there's no one in there. I'm on to Guinness. As soon as there's someone in there, they're going to let me know about that. The Rangers, that's one of the things on Katie's list to discuss. So the next, moving on, so the meeting doesn't go on too long, Food and Crew, a little bit of an update from the community fridges. So they've now taken their position. St Mary's Caritas Centre, Hope Church, Autism Inclusive and Barney's Community Hub. All fridges will be fully operational by Easter 2026. I think it's taken ages to get this off the ground, and it's much more than just buying a fridge and putting it in. They've actually got to get, so they're speaking to Graham, the food coordinator at CVS, Becky's put together some paperwork, which I'll tweak slightly and add better branding. And my idea is to put a list on each fridge of where they can go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and make sure that people know it's all about food waste and not about food poverty. There's lots going on. So CVS have approached me to help them, which I have been doing. I'm making connections. They're doing a bid, Graham, the food coordinator, for £3 million from the National Lottery to bring it into Crewe, and it's connected them with Bowie, and it's a whole project of food in Crewe, food not leaving Crewe, making it. If we get the money, it's amazing. He's doing it all himself, but I'm just making all the connections for him. So I've spent a fair bit of time supporting him with that. Crucial Crewe, Child Safety Media. The evaluation report is from page 92 onwards. Members asked at the last meeting on page 97, could we tell them exactly what schools? So that's, if you look at 97, it does tell you there are quite a lot of schools there within our boundary. The writing's so tiny, I can't see it. But there are obviously schools outside of our boundary, but there are schools within. Hang on, they did an extra list as well. Hang on, make sure it's the right page. No. Yes. I think there was about 8 Dawn in total. 2, 7, 4, 7, recent areas.
Well, I can only pick out 4.
Must be on a different list. It is in there.
6. Gainsborough, Springfield, Beechwood, St Michael's.
Stay where the other
St Mary's just, because they're on the other side of the road.
Yeah.
Leighton's just outside our
Beechwood,
boundary, probably.
Yeah.
St Michael's is, yeah. Yeah, I missed those. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Is there
6 out of.
actually? Is it going to be an AOB thing?
ASB. Oh, the ASB report. Sorry, AOB.
Yeah.
Can do.
Any other business? Just briefly. We don't normally, but I will allow it. You will be delayed us getting to the group meeting.
Oh, that's
Carry on. The reason that I've asked you to take particular note of this is because we finished the funding agreement we had with them, and of course they're asking us to extend it, which we'll ask for permission for in the next agenda item. Can I just get to the end of this report, Ben?
Yeah.
Can we do the AOB? So there's an ASB report from Public Services Manager, because even though it sits within Public Services Committee, it feeds into this committee. So she's the way Lindsay lets us know what she's been up to and where she's at, so to speak. It directly affects us because, of course, we fund activities in parks. So it's a good read. I'll shut up for a minute so you can read it. That's page 106 for anyone who doesn't know. And obviously the new community strategy we've just discussed. It's my intention to put that before members for approval at the next committee meeting at the end of May.
Can we ensure that we have the second draft in plenty of time to discuss?
Yeah, sure.
So
yeah. Well, if I get stuff back to them,
I'm just conscious that there's some members who weren't at that workshop who might want to feed into the second draft.
Yeah. And the thing is, when we get the second draft back, it's not set in stone. We have the ability to change it or tweak it. But based on the discussion today, I'll feed back to them. We'll get a second draft, but it is just draft. We can change it whenever we want to.
If you're going to do sort of bullet point summary from that workshop, and members who weren't at it could see what we're actually. Okay.
The other thing I've done is
she has recorded it, so you can listen back to it.
It's not going to be on YouTube because obviously it's a private conversation, but I can send you the link. And then you can watch the meeting. Have a notice for anyone who wants it, no problem. So Ben, did you want to do so? Is that okay?
Yeah. I'm reminded of this because I'm looking at the schools that are engaged with the So our most disadvantaged schools, apart from Beechwood, Underwood West, Brighton, Buckscott, Wilson Green, those kinds of schools, they, for many reasons, they can't access these things like this. And so disclosure. So I'm a bikeability instructor. I still teach
So
cycling.
do I declare an interest in this?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be.
Yeah. Hang on a
So I'm a
second.
but I'm also the active travel champion, and we got some data very recently showing that the schools in Crewe, the ones just mentioned, for example, only about half the kids have actually got bicycles to learn to ride bikes on. Or they don't turn up for various reasons.
Yeah.
And it's linked to all sorts of things like antisocial behaviour and stuff. That ability to get around, whether it's linked into further aspirations for having clean, healthy transport, easy to get to. I mean, I could link it to everything we do really. So just some advice really, what people think. How can we help our young families in Crewe access this free offer for them because they haven't got.
Right.
So I don't even know whether they haven't got the bikes, but
I guess that would be a question that if we agreed to fund it, that's the question subject to. You know, I could go back to them and ask that question. How do they market it? How do they invite the schools? What's the programme? What's the process? Because I think we could learn from that, couldn't we?
Yeah.
So if I could find that out.
Sorry, I'm confused, but is yours a request about how people can, for the schools, access bikeability or access critical crew?
No, I remind you, it's the same schools that don't access crucial crew.
Right, okay. It's not about crucial crew. It's how they access bikes to be able to. Yes. So is it about working with community recycle
So we've just funded them, haven't we?
to actually have them to have a bank of bicycles which could be taken to schools where you do your bikeability, so they could actually have.
You've already got the solution.
I've only got the solution because if we go back 10 years, that's what they used to do.
So
and it's not maybe, but it's because we used to, that's what community recycles used to do. They used to come along to schools or to community events in the park and some or whatever, and they would bring along a stock of bikes, and then people could do their bikeability on those bikes, and then they would take away. Now I think they stopped doing it because the person who had the trailer to take them around was no longer being able to volunteer with them.
So three groups that spring to mind, as Dawn just said, is Crewe Recycles Cycles, a community group which we recently funded. St Paul's, Changing Lives Together. Changing Lives Together. So they've got a lot in there, but St Paul's certainly have a lot of bikes. But of course, they try and sell them to. I know they give some away, but they try and sell them. So I think we'd be looking at potentially a bit of money towards helping that project. You know, I don't think it would be. Do you want me to look into it and find out what it might cost?
Yes, and I'll also send you the data about what the position is.
So I'll speak to St Paul's, I think, in the first instance, because I know that they give them away as well. People come in and they're desperate, but it is their lifeline, and they are obviously trying to raise money. So it might be that we have to pay a nominal fee.
It's only children's bikes.
Kids' bikes, right? Okay. Let me find out about that, and I'll check that. Okay.
Great community group.
Here's the one we made earlier.
Yeah, so it's positive in that we used to do it.
It's recycling.
As part of neighbourhood action, recycling ideas, sort of thing. Some of the projects I did back in the day weren't that bad. Right.
I was going to ask why did it stop, but you answered the question. Yeah? Is that all? That's the reason it stopped. They had no one to put a trailer.
Yeah. The guy with the trailer moved away. So, well, no, he took his trailer as well, you see. So. Right, agenda item 10,
so that
provide an update to members on the progress of the business delivery plan.
Okay, it's 26-27. So this is where I'm asking you to, I need formal resolution on this because there are some suggestions on here with regards to funding in the next financial year. Page 108 it starts on. So I've just detailed what we do. So obviously, as we already discussed, the grants allocation is 30k. Remember, at Sunday I have an allocation of 12. It costs 10 this year. We're expecting it to go up considerably. So the Star of Light service, we talked about this last time, if you remember, and we were coming up with all sorts of ideas as what we might do instead of hanging the lights in the tree. It all worked out absolutely perfectly because I spoke to the Creme, and they have agreed to sort all the stars out, hang them in the tree. They're going to fund the lights, and they're going to put them in the tree, and they're going to put them up front. So it was just like one of those meetings was amazing. So we are going to deliver the service in Lyceum Square because it worked really well. The stars will immediately go to the Creme. The Creme will put the stars up. They're going to keep them up for the whole of the Christmas period. And that is what they want to do for the community. They've also bought a couple of post boxes themselves, which will just do other stuff throughout the year. But
Can I just say that I was in the cemetery on the 15th of February, and the stars were still
They're
up.
still there.
They're still
Yeah.
up from the which
Yeah.
defeats the objective. They're going to the,
It
so
kind
they
of-
do need to come down by a
yeah,
pit.
they've agreed to do it for a 4-week period. That means that I do have to buy the Fomex stars because obviously they need to weather. I've put down £4,000 here because, but I think it's unlikely I'll need that full allocation. I've got a backup plan in case for any reason they say, "Oh, sorry, we can't do it now. We might have to fund the lights," but that will be delivered, I'd say, for probably 2.5. But I've put the 4 down, assuming that we might have to pay it. But I don't.
I
think
might
we
have
will.
to go to Treasuries and ask how they funded it.
And they're also coming to they love the service. They come into the service. They're bringing more of them. They're doing a pop-up stall at the service, and they're doing more of a reading as well. So it worked out perfectly. So that was a good one. Sustaining network. We have £15,000 allocated for food bank support. Again, I'll get to the figures for that in a minute. Community Development Commissioning. So St Andrew's funding request to Freetown Council is for the lunch crew, and I asked her to separate it because she split it into, she'd done one big thing which included warm spaces and community outreach. So I asked her to separate it into 2 separate things because that way we get the option, of course, of approving one and not the other, or both indeed. So if you look on page 109, that's what they're asking us for. We can vote at the end, but let me know if you don't think that's right.
How does this compare to what we're already funded in the previous year?
So it's a little bit more, but not an awful lot. I think we gave them. We used to give them like 8,000, and then it went to 7, and then last year or the year before it was 3.5. Last year it was 4 and a bit, and this year it's obviously gone up a little bit. But I think it's. I mean, lunch crew definitely is, and that's why I was asking you to, if you look at the figures, the feedback that she gave us, and all the people that benefited from it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't know. Has anyone got any comments on warm spaces and community outreach? Because this is sort of sits outside of what we normally approve.
I think they get a lot from money there. I really do.
They do.
It's
It's
just
not.
they give it to people that have got the numbers for that kind of money. I think.
Somebody
It's
can't
great,
add
yeah.
up
Well, that's Becky's proposal. Yes.
because that, overall total isn't those 2 figures added together.
Sorry,
but,
I should have cross-checked that, but I'll obviously
but,
I'll obviously check it. They get the food from all over the place, but they're tied in with quite a lot of the other groups. CBS food coordinator feeds into them. They're really people are quite closed about where they get the food from because they don't want to share, but they manage to get their food. But do they buy? No, they have to sometimes, because but say like the lunch crew, they put out big bowls of fruit everywhere so that people can just take the fruit if they want to. So there's dignity in it as well, and I just think it's
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
yeah, it's a great thing.
What they deliver for that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
money, I think
for
it's
£2.50 a
Exactly.
meal, it's
Exactly. There's
So-
so many people that benefit. It's incredible.
Okay, so we'll just say we don't have to vote on that just yet. I'll ask you to come back to that in a moment. We have £60,000 in the wellbeing pot, and we're being asked to look at Wishing Well supported adults for consideration. So just to give you a little bit of a background, they've obviously done a proposal, page 110 onwards. They have done absolutely amazing things. We've given them £2,500 a year for 3 years. and it's just been incredible. Dawn, you've been out many
Yeah,
times.
I suppose I should declare interest that Janice Mealy, who runs this, it is an old friend.
Do you want to
from some
declare an
years.
interest?
Yeah, better.
Right, yeah,
I
it's
said.
interesting.
Um, and what she has done there, and the other partners that she brings in, and other businesses who they've completely remodelled inside of it and outside the outdoor space, and what she's providing there for and though you go along to the adults and they're what they're I've seen some of them, and within 6 weeks, their demeanour, their everything has changed so much. So that she works with, and they take them on holidays now. They take them on camping trips.
This committee funded some camping many years ago.
So and all that, and still carries on. And
it's just incredible. They plant all the seeds. They've got all stuff we funded. There's an outdoor area.
They look after my apple tree.
Yeah, they cook. They cook.
I planted an apple tree, and
it's just incredible. Sally's been loads as well.
I have an apple off it every year.
They tell you, they just go buy an apple. But they're looking at, so they're out of the funding agreement now. So for members that are not aware, we create a 3-year service level agreement to encourage sustainability, and so that we can budget for it. It's always subject to evaluation at the end of every financial year. So we got to year 1 and we thought, actually, they've not done much with that. We have the right just to close it. So it's just, they're looking now at Wishenwell mini cafe, but the kids, or the young adults, I should say, the supported adults, are going to be working in there and volunteering in there and learning skills. It's just brilliant. So that's their proposal. So the Cheshire East Barrio Fiesta, we have funded that with the 3rd year request. First year we funded £1,000. Last year we funded £1,500, and this year I'm asking members to look at £2,000. They have no other income streams at all this year so far, but it's just one of those events that I know that we were just given in events last night. They granted Afrofest, didn't they? 2,000. That's the first year event. The Filipino community, when you factor in counterculture as well, they've just done absolutely loads. There is evaluation.
Sorry, I thought that the African event was replacing this.
No, it's different. It's as well as. So that's being run by Alpha Omega WPS, the Afrofest. This is the Filipino community.
I'm just sort of, confused why one event is coming out of events committee and this is coming out of community. And this seems to be that, somewhere along the line, the events, this is an event, and to me should be coming out of the events committee budget. It shouldn't be coming out of communities.
As chair.
Yeah.
Get your popcorn.
We said no to this.
Chair of the we did have a long debate about grants.
We did.
We did.
Where organisations should land between here or events.
My view is
We did
This is the 3rd year. I understand this, maybe the 1st year and the 2nd year, because we're helping support and seed funding like we would, but if it's going to become a regular event as part of the Crewe Town Council's calendar, then I think it should be transferred to the events committee and funded from the events committee.
One thing we did.
We discussed these things.
As well.
No?
SLAs. Because we want we obviously to have an agreement on deliverables.
yes.
And outcomes of funding as well.
I think that
Unfortunately, Dawn, the events committee disagree with you.
I think what happens here is that when members,
But this is an event.
when people apply
It by definition is an event. It's not,
Yes.
so.
But when people apply for funding through this committee, there's quite a structured approach in terms of the information that is required. So I spoke to Amaka and briefed her on what you might need. But for example, the Armed Forces application was really quite light, So I think it needs to go across committees. This is what the forms that we have. should go across committees. But I do hear what Dawn, it needs to sit in one committee or the other.
Yeah.
What I suggested to Liz was, because at the moment, of course, she's clerking the events committee, was that you moved a load of your budget over to this thing and then we could consider them.
One of the things well discussed was can't remember, something related to what you just said.
Yeah. Okay.
Somebody
I
else help me out.
don't know what's in your head.
Because last night we decided that we, because it didn't really go. I mean, Jill brought it up last night to say, well, if it's a grant, it should come into this one.
Yeah.
It shouldn't go into last night's.
Yeah.
Right. So, but they said what we'd say is we would agree it this one time, which was
Yeah,
last night,
yeah,
on that
yeah,
one.
yeah.
But if it was going to be a reoccurring event, then we should have an SLA.
Yeah.
So then we
So
know
these
the
have an SLA.
terms, and then we
Yeah.
could agree with it on a regular basis. That kind of thing.
Well, the
which is
Barrio
really
Fiesta
nice.
has an SLA
Yeah.
and a proposal that I can evaluate against.
This was a big difference as well between both committees discussed last night, was that events ask organisations to cooperate, whereas we receive here, whereas in events last night we reach out to people for collaboration and about events, and I think that was a big difference as well. I don't know what the word is.
Can't ask me.
When you ask someone to do something for you.
Yeah,
But
but
that
I
was a
think
difference.
it was more as well that last night's requests, like the two that just referred to, they were asking for grants. Well, last night wasn't a grant.
I think that's just a terminology.
Yeah,
Say grant.
that's right.
But they don't know. It's class that differentiates.
Commissioned is the word.
Commission.
And commission organisations in events, whereas events, groups come to.
I think that
But we're not commissioning them.
No, but whatever committee funds this, I do believe that we should fund it. I mean, it's just such an amazing event. But I see the point that actually, why is the African Fest sitting in events and this is sitting in
this?
That's an internal issue for us.
I think that's something that a report which needs to go to both committees, events committees and this committee. We both raised it about events and
grants.
Would you like me to add that
when
to
is
the
an
next
event?
agenda?
When is a community grant? Not a grant, it's an event.
It's an event.
We're funding in the event, so I think we need to, have an officer's view, look at it and which
I'll put
committee
it on the
it
agenda
sits
for
under.
discussion on the next meeting, Dawns, and I'll make sure it goes on events as well. And we need to just talk about it.
We need a paper coming to both committees, the same paper coming to both committees.
I actually think it's a little bit bigger than that because we've already, going back on the agenda tonight, we've already had an example of what's happened in public services with the Cleaner Free project and the alleyways grant, which we've gone ahead and that's a crossover.
I think it all crosses over. It's all about community and it all crosses over. And to the layman, they don't care who funds them, they just want the funding.
Exactly.
It's our internal processes, isn't it, that we need to iron out.
And do applicants apply to a committee or do they just apply to the council?
So it just depends, because I get a lot of calls, oh, Jackie, I really want to apply for this, this and this. But if it's, Amaka went to events first, but then came to me for help with how she might apply, which I helped her with. But I did at the time think, hang on, why is she going directly to events when the Filipino comes to us? So I think I would love to see members agree to fund this, but I think that we need to just be clear going forward what our plan is for the next financial year.
And what would
I think at the meeting last night, the problem we had was this grey area. Who funds what and who doesn't. I think that's the argument actually.
So we just need to discuss.
Certain things should come here, while I thought certain things should go to yesterday's meeting. But then I think we have to iron out the grey area and decide what goes where.
I think one of the advantages of funding with events, be it whatever committee, is that of course we can support every year, so we can encourage sustainability and they can rely on our support to make the event bigger and better. The grant scheme, you can only apply every 24 months. So therefore, the Cheshire, the Filipino community had a grant first, it went well. So then I brought it back to committee and we agreed to fund it and gave them a bit more and we helped them with marketing. And then this year, of course, I'm saying, let's build on it. Sorry, Tony.
Oh no, no. Oh no, just going to ask. So that makes more sense because I suppose if it's an event, then that's why it went into the events. I understand it even more.
Why couldn't it go into?
Because you want to do it every year, don't you? They're looking to do it every year.
So we did this as
That
a
makes
grant
sense,
first of all, and it went really well. And obviously, Friends of Queen's Park are involved, and then we moved it from the grants pot to funding. There's no reason why that can't happen, for events going forward.
Right.
So. Okay, apply for a grant. We'll decide if or not it works, and then if it's a successful thing, we then move it back to events. This is an event. It's had a grant. It worked well. Consideration for funding. That's how I'd approach it.
Right. So
that makes sense.
So you're proposing 2,000 to the best, because I have a caveat on that we don't give any funding over until they can actually show us that they've got the rest of the funding, because it's more than 2,000.
To demonstrate,
well, not more than demonstrate. I want to see the bank account.
Yeah,
of course you do. Yeah.
So not just demonstrate the evidence that they've received, they've got the initial funding before we give
their
the
view
£2,000.
is anything you can give us, we're grateful for, but they don't have anything secured as yet. But I see your point. We'll hold it back until we are confident that the event is going to go ahead and they've received other funding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't want it being done in a sort of, we'll just do bits and pieces on the basis of what money we've got, and then we get an unsafe event taking place.
They put in loads of their own money. They're just dedicated to it.
I'll just see.
So in terms of the planning where it comes from, like a big decision tree. So is it a one-off, yes or no? Is it
so a grant application, and
then we can follow it down and then work out which or might not. That could be quite a transparent document everybody would see and really help them shape their bid.
Well, it would be a case of this went through the grant scheme. The evaluation was fantastic. I really think that the events committee should be looking at this. Obviously, I talked to Rosie when she's back and the events manager all the time. This really needs to go before members for consideration as it's an event in the events, but it comes through grants first, I think.
That makes sense. Sounds good.
Martin, right.
That makes sense.
And also, I don't know if this is pedantic, but this allocation we're discussing now covers insurance.
Exactly.
And technically a venue hire, if you like, because it's a stage hire.
Well,
so again,
but
we
what
don't,
I've said,
we don't pay.
But that's the whole. That's the whole of the application. So what I've said.
That's why I've said that's nearly 6K.
Sound and technical equipment might be what we cover, or marketing, which is I think your suggestion last year, wasn't it, Ben? That you wanted to see more marketing. I got Suzanne involved in helping them, and we paid for some printing, so we gave them a bit more. But potentially we could say, okay, we want to fund, your sound and technical equipment and some of your portable toilets, but the rest is on you, So that would be cleaner for us, I think, wouldn't it?
And actually, we can even almost monetize the advice and support we give them.
I did all that. Honestly, I've referred them to, connected them with all the people that we use, and they've done brilliantly. I mean,
but until we see sight that we've actually got the funding for all those other things, because the public liability insurance and security is vital, and the first aid, and so we need to see, and we don't fund insurances through grants, so why should we do it through this?
No, but we could look at potentially putting some towards, I don't know, stage hire, whatever. So that's something we can come back to. South Cheshire Class. So I've included this in as well. I'm going to be asking you to vote on this at the end as well. We funded South Cheshire Class for 1 year through the grant scheme. This is a classic one actually, through the grant scheme, and we gave it to them £1,500 over a year because there was some uncertainty about their financial stability. We gave it to them $750 at a time. So it was subject because they would put a appeal out that they were desperate for money, and we were a bit like, we don't want to just give them one lump sum. But they've done a brilliant evaluation in terms of who it's helped and what they've done with it. So one of the things I'm asking members to look at is a 3-year deal for them for the same amount annually. We'll come back to that. I've asked her to detail the beneficiaries. 96% of participants are lone parents living within the CW1 and CW2 postcode area. It speaks for itself. It's, you know, a good one. Wishing well, summer street sports. Well, obviously they're coming into year 3, so we've already agreed on that.
Yeah.
So one of the things, this is not for decision, but I just want to run it by you. Charles Mains, who's the CEO of the Wishing Well, came in to see us recently and said that after the success of the summer street sports that we fund, and it's been incredible, like 30, 40, 50 kids every single night of the week in different parks across Crewe, they got some funding to deliver winter street sports, and that funding has been pulled this year. So they want us to consider funding winter street sports across all the different parts of parks that we're investing money in.
Yeah.
So it's like a self-policing thing, because that park's going to be used. That park's going to be, they signpost, they feed the kids if they need to. So Charles has put a proposal together, but I'm not asking you to vote on that for now, because I believe that this should go across the Public Services Committee as well. So formal consideration will come to you at the next meeting, but I just wanted to plant the seed with you, because it's a fair amount of money. I think they're funding 50% of it, and they're asking us for what it was, winter programme, they're asking us for 20, was it 20 odd grand?
23,400.
But the Public Services Committee has got some unspent money, so it will come, Lindsay and I will make a plan, and I'll put it before you for consideration in May.
And it's also kind of an event.
No resolution needed, I'm just flagging it. Dawn's absolutely right. How is it going to be sustainable once we fund it once? It works really well.
They've done, they've done it and it's happened really well.
Yeah.
And if we weren't there,
Yeah.
because the funding's been pulled,
Yeah.
it would stop, it would cease. So again, something which is,
It might be that we have to look at it
sustainability.
over 3 years or whatever, but you know, that's something that we'll come back to committee for. Library, this is ongoing. We have set £41,172 for the library for next year. They've come back and asked us, would we mind just topping it up by 2,500, which represents something like a 9.8% increase on the previous year. So we
told them no.
We've said no. We've said this is what we've agreed. You need to go out to the other parish councils that use the library and ask them first. And then what I've asked them to do is come in and see us around about June, July time to set the next financial year, 27-28, so I can get it in front of you for good, because it's a big commitment. It's 40,000 pounds a year. It'd be awful to see the library close. However, you know, we're not. It's a dripping tap, isn't it? How much can we give them? So I'm just flagging that.
Capped at 5%
Yeah.
by the government.
Well, that's what I went back and said. So you're asking us effectively, if we gave you this 2,500, that's almost 10% increase on last year.
Yeah.
Can you justify that? That even given the cost of living of, you know, it just didn't sit well. So they've gone away and said, you know, that they're going to look at other councils. But I did also remind them that the 41,172 is subject to a service level agreement, and in that it demonstrates that they must open for 7.5 days. And if we didn't give it to them and they closed for an hour, then we'd be in a situation where actually they've deviated from the agreement, so they'd end up getting less.
Did you say 7.5?
Yeah, just ignore it.
Yeah, ignore it.
7.5 hours.
7.5, you said days.
No, did I? Sorry, ignore me. Hours.
I know what you meant.
Hours, yeah.
No, impossible. Impossible.
So yeah, that's just ongoing, and I'll keep members posted with that.
We can just
So then, if you go to page 119, we're nearly there, I promise. If you go to page 119, you'll see that I've written exactly what I'm proposing that we spend the money on. So 30,000 courses grants. Last year we gave St Paul's Centre and Chance Changing Lives 6,000. I'm proposing that we give them the same, not an increase, but that leaves us a little pot of money, if you like, that if we need to go back to them, we can. The only caveat there is that we funded them that additional 3,000, didn't we?
We did.
So, but I think that's a different project.
Project,
We'll come
yeah.
back to that. Community Development Commissioning, I put 515398, but I'll cross check that, see proposal. Star of Light, I've already said it's for 12,000 is for Remembrance Sunday. The Wishing Well, year 3 and 3, no funding required there. Wishing Well Friendship Groups, I need approval for that. They've come out of their 3-year agreement, so we need to go into year 1 of 3 for that. Male mental health, we did fund Wilderness Tribe, that's expired now, so what I'm going to suggest is that members agree to allocate £2,500 towards male mental health, but I'm going to go seek expressions of interest and just see what's out there and talk more about collaboration. Supported adults, you've already seen that. The afternoon club is out of...
Sorry, I need to declare
an interest there, Dawn interest.
And Lena.
Lena. So they're out of contract. They need, in this financial year, approval for let me just put interest there, just make sure I correct this one. Crucial Crew, we've got that down as 2,500.
Could on the Crucial Crew, could we get some feedback from them exactly how much the whole project costs?
Yep.
Against and where the rest of the funding's coming from, because there's only 6 of schools out of what 30 odd that were listed there.
I think there's more, you know. I've seen a list from them, but yeah, I'll get the exact list again, Dawn, as well, and then we can just defer that to the next meeting. That amount. So we have an EDI allocation, which doesn't really mean anything other than we've ring-fenced 5k towards EDI, but if we decided to spend 10, then we could spend 10. It all sits within wellbeing. So I'm proposing that the Filipino event comes out of that, and then the Sunflower Disability Scheme year 2, because we've already agreed it. It's just been paid in year 1. Then we've got Chance Changing Lives. We funded them last year some money towards money management / debt counselling. They're not ready to give us a proposal just yet. Their plans are not concrete, so I'm not asking you to approve that. It's just there for interest. Dove Bereavement, we're in year 2 of 3. Circus Star, we're in year 3 of 3. Defib accessories, I've already talked to you about. Pads and batteries, that's page 122. Networking events needs approval, £1,000. We put that in every year just so, for example, we're running a celebration of diversity event on the 29th of April. That will come out of our networking budget. I'm actually going to get the invoice in this financial year to free that money up because we've got some money left over. Veteran support, that's a standard thing. We do that every year. I don't always spend the 2.5, but it's there if we need to.
Where did you go?
So some went to the Breakfast Club, £1,000 went to the RBL to support like VJ Day events and whatever. I've had Nancy in today and I go through like a proposal, which doesn't get the whole 2.5. It gets dotted around. It's a pot of money that's there.
You could, the crew veterans.
Yeah, you could put in for it if you wanted to. So White Ribbon, that's an annual thing that we do. Again, we keep that in-house, but I want to allocate 2.5k per year towards it. That's it's probably a little bit more than we actually need, but I just want to keep it in case things change in terms of responsibilities, etc., etc. So we've got Her Place. We fund the mental health support, period dignity and wellbeing sessions for females, of course. We're in year 2 or 3. I'm not asking for approval for that. Cheshire Fire, we're in year 2. That's King's Trust, year 2 or 3 for that. Youth Federation, that event is in August. He's just emailed me today at Queen's Park. No consideration needed. That's all sorted. LAF, we gave them £1,000 last year, £500 for coats and £500 for shoes. It was a one-off. I'd like to propose that we do that every year for 3 years so that they know they can rely on it. South Cheshire Class, I've put the proposal in. That's £1,500 for 3 years.
Have we got confidence that they're continuing because they were on some
Well,
crisis?
I'd do the same thing again. I'd do 750 in the first year, so I'll break it into 2 payments. And then obviously there's stuff left over. At the moment, that's 18,046, but it really is just making the figures add up because actually some of the stuff isn't fully allocated just yet. 4 other things that we might want to fund that we identify in the community strategy. Too much talking as usual. We identify community. Don't you start. Actually, don't know about start. You never stop. So yeah, what I'm asking for there is on the last page, it's just a breakdown of where the money's gone. It shows a very, very good 2.19%, 2.19% increase on last year. So we really did shave it down. We didn't go mad. But I do need a resolution on that before approval.
So, the proposal is then all those items that are highlighted as needs approval. Do I have a proposer for those? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Daisy, all those in favour? I think that's unanimous, thank you then.
For event sources.
So that brings me to right to item 11, which is to note the close date for the next meeting, which is Tuesday, the 26th of May, 2026.
What are you saying about Councillor White?
No, I always like that bit, the date of that meeting is.
26th of May, Tuesday, the 26th of May.
You'll note that I've sent you all diary invites. I know you won't check, but all diary invites for the next all